welcome back to a brand new video, and today we're doing some more playoff talk. And before I start that, I do want to give a huge shout out to 2K, because last year around this time when the playoffs were coming, 2K, my league in 2K was crashing. Like, it was not working, but this year they are on top of it. Start today is working, which is awesome. I actually thank 2K for that, so we don't have to wait patiently for start to get fixed. But this year it is up and running, which I'm happy about. So out of that, guys, today basically we're going to be talking about one guy on every playoff team that could have some success that's not really expected to. Like, maybe he's expected to, like the guy that needs to step up. An X factor basically is what I'm trying to say. The guy that can go out there and be successful in the series. Not necessarily the number one, number two option, maybe like the third option or fourth, or just some guy that can basically be an X factor for each playoff team. So today we're going to go ahead and start. So for the 76ers, of course, I think the X factor in this playoff series is Markelle Fultz for the 76ers. I think if Markelle Fultz can continue to do triple doubles, be good, or just do what he can do basically as my stupid alarm went off. But anyway, Markelle Fultz, like I was saying, basically, I think he's the X factor for the 76ers. I think that he can go out there and be successful for this team and help them pass the series of the first one, then the second one, maybe even the Eastern Conference Finals. If Fultz can have a good playoffs, then I don't see why this team can't succeed throughout the playoffs. So 76ers are done. The Milwaukee Bucks next. I think the X factor here is definitely Jabari Parker. We have not seen this guy stay healthy for quite a long time, but he is healthy right now, and he's had some decent games when he's been back. So if he can continue that in the playoffs, then this team can succeed. If Giannis does his thing, Chris Middleton goes out there and still pops threes, does his thing, Bledsoe does his thing, Malcolm Brogdon comes off the bench, or whatever they're going to do with him, I don't see why this team can't succeed. I think Jabari Parker is a huge X factor in this series, and I think he's the one that can help this team be successful throughout the playoffs. Very helpful. Anyway, now the Bulls definitely didn't make it. The Cavaliers. All right, so the X factor here, I think. So we know what LeBron James, we know what Kevin Love can do. What else can these players down here do? I think that there's a lot of X factors in these playoffs, but I want to say Larry Nance Jr., but I also want to say Jordan Clarkson. I want to say Rodney Hood as well, but for some reason, I think I'm going to say Jordan Clarkson here. If Jordan Clarkson, whatever they do with him nowadays, I don't even know what they do with him nowadays. Does he start or not? I have no idea. Like, man, I don't really know. I don't really pay attention to the Cavaliers this year. Like, obviously I do, but I have not watched any of their games. I feel like they start Rodney Hood. So maybe Rodney Hood, I don't know. Like, let me see what they're... I guess I can't really look. You know, that doesn't make sense. All right, so I guess just my gut is going to tell me Jordan Clarkson is an X factor in this series. Jordan Clarkson could score the ball and put like 30 points up if he really wants to, 25 plus a night if he really wants to. Clarkson, I think, is a huge X factor for the Cavaliers. Next, we got the Boston Celtics. So without Kyrie Irving, this team is definitely short-handed. But for the Celtics, I think the X factor in this series is going to be not Jaylen Brown, not Jason Tatum, because we know what they're going to do. We know Al Horford's decent. I think Terry Rozier. I think Terry Rozier is an X factor because we saw him do good in the regular season, and he's going to start for this team. No Kyrie Irving, he's definitely a starter for this team. So I think, obviously, Terry Rozier is he's going to have to be the guy in this series, and he's going to have to step up big time for the Celtics team to succeed, because they're not going to have Kyrie Irving, who is their main piece to this team. If they don't have Kyrie Irving, Terry Rozier are going to have to step up big time. I think he will. And I think Terry Rozier could earn himself a big contract in the offseason. Next, not the Clippers, not the Grizzlies, not the Hawks, but the Miami Heat. I think the X factor in this series is probably Josh Richardson. Josh Richardson, I know, starts for this team. And if he can have a good series, I think he can help them throughout the playoffs. Maybe even past the 76ers in the first round. I have no idea. It's going to be a stretch for them to get past the first round because they're facing Philadelphia, who is on a 16-game win streak heading into the playoffs. But if Josh Richardson can have himself a series, then I don't see why the Miami Heat can maybe pass the 76ers. Now the Jazz. So the Utah Jazz, we're all surprised that this team even made the playoffs, but I don't know. Quinn Snyder, I think, should win Coach of the Year. If it's not Quinn Snyder, I think Terry Stotts should, or Brad Stevens, I guess. But man, this Utah Jazz team surprised everybody. And I would love to see Donovan Mitchell win Rookie of the Year. It might not happen. That's okay, though, because, you know, Ben Simmons, he's good, too, so I feel like Ben Simmons will win it. Anyway, Joe Ingles or Ricky Rubio is definitely the X factor in the series, but I'm going to go Ricky Rubio just because Joe Ingles can go out there and shoot threes. But if Ricky Rubio is succeeding in the playoffs with this Utah Jazz team, he's having a good series. He's had a pretty decent regular season with the Utah Jazz. So if he can continue that in the playoffs, I think this Utah Jazz team could potentially beat the Thunder in the first round. Other than that, let's go to not the Mavericks, not the Nets, the Nuggets. Sucks, man. You guys should have made it, but you didn't. Anyway, the Pacers. I think the Pacers, obviously, it's got to be Lance Stevenson, right? I mean, Lance Stevenson is an X factor. I mean, this guy is just wild. And I love watching Lance Stevenson play. But he seems to play good against LeBron James every time they play. So I think Lance Stevenson is a huge X factor. If he has a successful series, maybe they can beat the Cavs this year. I don't know. Because the Cavaliers, I'm not confident in the Cavaliers like I have been in the past. But of course, I do still have the Cavs winning, but Lance Stevenson, I think, is a huge X factor for the Indiana Pacers coming off the bench. Next, we got the Pelicans. X factor here is Rajon Rondo. Rajon Rondo, playoff Rondo is ridiculous. Last year, we saw what they did when he was with the Chicago Bulls. He went up 2-0 in the series on the Celtics, and then he got hurt, and then Bulls got swept through, like, the next 4 games they got swept through. So basically, what would have happened if Rondo would have stayed healthy? We will never know, but playoff Rondo is definitely different from regular season Rondo. Raptors. Now we got the Toronto Raptors, then the Rockets. So the Raptors, of course, I think it's Serge Ibaka. I think if Serge is knocking down shots with DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry, then I think this team is going to have a deep playoff run. If this guy can average 18 to 20 plus points per game, I don't see why this team can't succeed throughout the playoffs. Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan definitely have to have their regular games, of course, as well. You can't be struggling this year. You can't be struggling in the playoffs this year. It is win now or never for this Raptors team. If they don't win now, then I think they could be forced to face a rebuild in the offseason. Maybe not, because they're not really in position to rebuild, but they got to do something in the offseason if it just doesn't work out. Next, we got the Houston Rockets. Of course, it's probably Trevor Ariza, because Trevor Ariza, if he's knocking down shots, then this team is going to be unstoppable. If Ariza can go out there and knock down shots with James Harden, Chris Paul, Eric Gordon, Clint Capella's knocking them down in the paint. If Trevor Ariza is knocking down, maybe getting like 15 plus points a game, this Rockets team is going to be unstoppable. Of course, there's just a lot of other three-point shooters on this team as well. But Trevor Ariza is a big X factor, and as long as he stays open in the corners, James Harden or Chris Paul kicks out to him, he's knocking him down. It's going to be very hard to beat this Rockets team no matter who you are. Now we got San Antonio Spurs, Man, do I want to see Kawhi Leonard play. I definitely want to see Kawhi Leonard play. And if you're on Twitter, do not fall for the Kawhi Leonard will play in Game 1, because that was from last year, and it even tricked me. I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about if you have a Twitter. It's like someone's been retweeting like tweets from last year that says Kawhi Leonard will play in Game 1. Like, I was so excited for a second, then I'm like, man, that was from last year. You guys got me there. So, man, it sucks. I really want to see Kawhi Leonard play. But I think X Factor here is Tony Parker. I think Ginobili is a huge X factor because he's having a really good season at the age of 40. Rudy Gay seems like an X factor to me as well, because if he can turn back the clock a little and score the ball a lot, then this team can be very successful. But I think if Ginobili can have a good series and play like he does in the regular, like he has been in the regular season, I think this team could be pretty successful. LaMarcus Aldridge needs to be knocking down his shots. Gasol needs to be doing his thing, and Rudy Gay needs to be doing his thing as well. The Thunder. I think the X factor here is Carmelo Anthony, because Carmelo Anthony has just not had a very decent regular season. It's not been very good, not what we expected. But Carmelo Anthony, we don't know what he's going to look like in the playoffs, and I have a feeling this man Carmelo Anthony is about to turn it on in the playoffs. I don't know why. I just have this gut feeling that Carmelo Anthony is back in the playoffs and he's going to turn it back on. And I want to see that happen. So Carmelo Anthony, please come back. Please come back. Come succeed in the playoffs and you will knock down some shots, I'm sure. The Timberwolves, it's Andrew Wiggins, of course, because Andrew Wiggins needs to have a successful series for this team to beat the Houston Rockets. There's no way they beat the Houston Rockets unless Wiggins is averaging 20-plus points per game throughout the series. So is Karl-Anthony Towns, and so is Jimmy Butler. So, Wiggins, you need to knock down your shots. You need to be great in this series, and you guys will be just fine. The Trailblazers, Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum, you all know what Yusuf Nurkic is going to do. I think the X factor here, I would say Maurice Harkless, but he's hurt right now. I think the X factor is Evan Turner. I think if Evan Turner can come out and have a good series, basically, I think they could get past the Pelicans with simplicity. Like, it shouldn't be too bad, but if he's knocking down shots with Lillard and McCollum, he's doing his thing in the mid-range game, getting like 15-plus points per game, and then Lillard, McCollum getting their 25-plus, whatever, then this team should be fine. Well, it's my favorite team. My team should be fine. I mean, Aminu is another guy. If he's knocking down his shots, then this team should be fine as well. But the Trailblazers definitely need Evan Turner, Aminu, Shabazz, Pat, Harkless. They need everybody to be knocking down shots just besides Lillard and McCollum. Golden State Warriors, X factor here is Andre Iguodala. If he's coming off the bench and doing his thing like he used to back in the day, this team can definitely win another championship if he's doing his thing off the bench. The Wizards, the X factor here is probably, I want to say Markieff Morris, because if Markieff Morris is succeeding with Otto Porter, John Wall, and Bradley Beal, and he's doing his thing, getting like 10 plus, 15 plus, then this team's going to be good throughout the playoffs, and they're going to be hard to stop. So there you go, guys. Those are my X factors throughout the playoffs. Let's see what 2K thinks about my X factors. Let's see who wins. Let's see who wins. Pelicans win. Golden State wins. Houston wins. Sixers have been eliminated by the Celtics. Cavaliers and Warriors, we better not see that again this year. I will literally cry myself to sleep for every night until the next NBA season starts if we see another Cavs and Warriors series. Quote me on it, because I do not want to see it again. But thank you guys so much for watching. Leave a like if you did enjoy, and of course subscribe if you haven't already. And this is Crushables, and I'm saying peace.